Earlier this week, this is how parts of West Bengal look like.
ট্যাঙ্কের জলে বিষ
নামানো হয়েছে, জল কেউ খায় না।
আজকে দিয়েছে
আজকে দিয়েছে দুপুরবেলায় বিষ।
অসুবিধা নাই।
সবাইকে তাড়িয়ে দিচ্ছে, বাড়িঘর সব আগুন লাগিয়ে পুড়িয়ে দিয়েছে, কিছু নাই বাড়িঘর।
These visuals were from Murshidabad district. West Bengal, like some of the other states, has been seeing protests against the newly enacted Waqf Amendment Act. The act gives the government more power over the control and management of Waqf properties. Critics say the government has no right to interfere with their religious practices and that the act is unconstitutional. In the Muslim-dominated district of Murshidabad, these Anti-Waqf Amendment Act protests turned violent. Cars were burned, shops were damaged, homes were looted, set ablaze. Such was the scale that hundreds of locals had to flee and take shelter across the Ganga in adjoining Malda district as communal lines widened further. 2 people were hacked to death and 1 allegedly died in police firing. The Calcutta High Court had directed the centre to deploy CRPF personnel. Since then, no new incidents of violence has been reported. Over 250 arrests have been made in connection with the Murshidabad violence. The Bharatiya Janata Party has accused the Mamata Banerjee-led government of appeasement politics and not acting in time, while the West Bengal Chief Minister hit back, calling it a conspiracy. So what exactly happened in Murshidabad? Hello and welcome to Simply Put. I am Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. 8th April 2025. Location Jangipur, Murshidabad district. Some organizations had called for protests against the Waqf Amendment Act. A section of the protesters blocked the Umarpur crossing in Jangipur. This led to the blockade of National Highway 12 or NH12. Reports say the police initially requested the protesters to lift this blockade. When the protesters refused to do so, police tried to lift it by force using tear gas to disperse the protesters. This led to a clash between the protesters and the police. Stones were allegedly pelted at the cops and 2 of their jeeps were also torched. At least 22 people were arrested in connection with the violence. Cut to 11th of April 2025. Location Dhulia. Some Muslim organizations had organized another protest, again in connection with the Waqf Amendment Act. The march began near Shamsherganj police station, heading towards the Dak Bungalow crossing. Things and the protests were peaceful until then. But things spiraled out of control when protesters blocked the Sujarpur and Dak Bungalow crossings. The Quint reported that a group of protesters turned back and started vandalizing and looting shops. An eyewitness told the news portal that miscreants were targeting both Hindu shops and homes and also Muslim-owned establishments. But things escalated soon after. Nearby areas like Shamsherganj, Jafrabad also saw tensions. The office and a home of a Trinamool Congress MP and MLA was also ransacked in the violence. Now, who or which organization or people were responsible for this violence isn't clear as we record this video. But several reports suggest young masked men between the age of 14 and 19 years of age were looting shops and setting homes on fire. While locals say Muslims and Hindus have lived peacefully and together in the area for years, things were different this time. A shopkeeper told the Hindu, "My shop was targeted because it was owned by a Hindu. The mob smashed our computers, stole our furniture and destroyed all the electrical appliances. They also looted lakhs of rupees that I had stored for a payment that is due in a few days." The West Bengal government on Thursday told the Calcutta High Court in a report that over 10,000 people had gathered in Murshidabad for protests. It said a mob intentionally targeted police officers with lethal intent and even seized their weapons. Some police officials say these look like coordinated attacks as multiple areas in Murshidabad district saw violence trigger one after the other or almost around the same time. But the worst hit in this violence is a village called Bedbona. Residents claim the attackers belong to nearby villages which were dominated by Muslims. The print reported that over 400 Hindu residents of the village have fled the village since this violence broke out. They crossed the Ganga in boats with the help of BSF personnel. One of the residents of Bedbona told the print, "They ordered us to take off our tulsi malas and look like Muslims. We pleaded that we are Hindus, but they threatened to behead us. They took all my jewelry and 1.5 lakh rupees cash." Now, the exact trigger behind this violence is not known, but there are some clues as to what could have led to it. Misinformation. Reportedly, factually incorrect, provocative messages were spread on social media about the Waqf Amendment Act and what it plans to do. A senior police officer told the Indian Express, messages meant to provoke, like land, religious places and even burial grounds would be taken away, were circulated. An impression was given that people's right to worship will be hampered. Simultaneously, several fake social media accounts cropped up to amplify this misinformation. The police have begun a crackdown on social media accounts which were spreading this misinformation. Meanwhile, as 11th and 12th April saw violence in Murshidabad, violence flared up elsewhere in the state of West Bengal too. On Monday, clashes erupted in South 24 Parganas' Bhangar area. Members of the Indian Secular Front or ISF protesting against the Waqf Amendment Act clashed with the police. Several injuries were reported and police vehicles were burnt as well. Local police said that the situation was brought under control promptly and that the miscreants in this attack have been booked. Meanwhile, 60 FIRs have been filed and 274 people have been arrested on last count in connection with the Murshidabad violence. Reports say the Union Home Ministry led by Amit Shah has been briefed about the violence and there are some indications of banned outfit Popular Front of India or PFI being responsible for the violence. The MHA, that is Home Ministry, is keeping a close eye as tensions gradually ease in the violence affected areas. But the clashes have led to a political battle in West Bengal. The Bharatiya Janata Party claims hundreds of Hindus have fled Murshidabad and some have not returned still. That is because Hindus are not safe under Mamata Banerjee. The Saffron Party has also called for the resignation of the West Bengal Chief Minister and also called for the implementation of President's rule in West Bengal. Mamata Banerjee on her part said those guilty will have to face the law, appealing all communities to calm down.
बीजेपी कोई लड़का आके हिंदू मुसलमान को भड़काएगा तो आप लोगों को एक रोल प्ले करना है, इमाम साहब को कहना है इसमें आप लोग मत जाइए, हम शांति चाहते हैं, हम शांति चाहते हैं, हम शांति चाहते हैं। हम जब तक रहेंगे हम हिंदू मुसलमान को बंटवारा करने नहीं देंगे। अगर ये विश्वास, ये भरोसा आपका है तो मेहरबानी करके, मैंने भांगड़ में भी देखा, इसका बाद क्या जरूरत है। हम देखते हैं जब कोई ऐसा इशू होता है कोई आपन आइडेंटिटी के लिए निजेर आइडेंटिटी बानाबार जन्य पॉलिटिकली एटाके मिसयूज करे। आई डोंट लाइक दैट। अगर हमारा भी कोई करे तो हम उसको भी कंडेम करते हैं। हमें नहीं चाहते हैं। हम चाहते हैं इमाम लोग आप मस्जिद से प्यार से बताइए कि हमको एक साथ में रहना है। बंगाल में जो शांति रहेगा तो हम लोग सब अच्छा रहेगा। और बंगाल में बीजेपी पोलराइजेशन करने चाहता है, जैसे हमारा गवर्नमेंट चला जाए और वो आने से आपको तो खाना भी बंद कर देगा।
Of course, the role of the Trinamool Congress and Mamata Banerjee is under scrutiny once again. After all, she is the chief minister and her party has been ruling the state for 15 years now. Several instances of communal violence, election-related violence continues to be seen in the state of West Bengal. Now, elections are due in West Bengal next year, that is 2026, and it is expected to be a tightly fought contest. But in the run-up to that, questions are being raised as to why the party has not been able to contain violence time to time. Take Murshidabad for instance. Notably, the Trinamool Congress was at the receiving end of the protesters' anger as well. And this is despite the TMC being the dominant political force in this Muslim majority district. Out of Murshidabad's 22 MLAs, 20 are from the Trinamool Congress. The district's all three Lok Sabha MPs, that is Khalilur Rahman from Jangipur, Baharampur MP Yusuf Pathan and Murshidabad MP Abu Tahir Khan are also from the Trinamool Congress. So what were these TMC legislators doing is the biggest question that is being asked. Why were they silent? Why did they not act in time? Why did they not ensure that tensions are brought down well in time before things spiral out of control? In fact, cricketer turned politician Yusuf Pathan was criticized for this social media post of his during the violence. Although clashes were not seen in his Lok Sabha constituency, which is Baharampur, the places where it did happen were near to his constituency. And yet, Yusuf Pathan was not seen on ground. Other Trinamool Congress MLAs say they had no information about such protests against the Waqf Amendment Act taking place. Some of them, in fact, indicted their own police, which is their own government's police, for not acting in time. A section of the TMC reportedly is not happy with these comments by their fellow party members. They feel that these representatives are losing touch from the ground, which is why they have to face the ire of the protesters, particularly when it comes to matters like these. And now, the party seems to be in damage control mode, politically speaking. Reports say TMC's top brass has asked these leaders to get on ground immediately and start interacting with the public. The Indian Express spoke to TMC MLAs and MPs who have now started going out, speaking to people, visiting the family of the deceased, telling people in their constituency the actual facts of Waqf and how the TMC has even challenged this act in court. Now, how much of these efforts paid dividends will be watched as we get closer to elections, even as families affected by this violence in Murshidabad pick up the pieces of whatever is left behind, including their damaged homes and also the memories of the loved ones they have lost. That's all we have for this episode of Simply Put. Thanks for watching.